Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with 10 essential band classics for beginners. Now, some of you said to me, when are you going to do the band talk? When are you going to do band? Well, I had it all here, so why not? You asked, and I'm happy to do it, especially for you beginner folks. A lot of, actually, people who get into classical music come to it by way of band. I was a band guy. I mean, I played clarinet. I tried to play clarinet, never seriously. I played percussion, and I was in a marching band. I was, at parades in Milford, Connecticut when I was growing up. And, oh, gosh, it was fun. It was so much fun. And I played concert band when I was in college. And we did a lot of this repertoire that I'm going to be talking about because it's the band classics. There's tons and tons and tons of band music, but most of it is transcriptions of things. A lot of it, and then there's marches, Sousa marches and things like that, which are not in here because that's a separate topic that we'll get to. But the actual band repertoire, symphonies and large concert works, is extremely large, but mostly contemporary, and not all that well known. And the number of band classics that are well known is rather small, and easily categorized. So you band people are going to know a lot of this stuff already. For those of you who are not band people, you are in for a real treat because this is such great music. And the band is such a marvelous, versatile group. It's as great as a symphony orchestra. It just doesn't have strings normally. And the reason I think it isn't more, better known is that the actual constitution of a symphonic band is up for grabs. In other words, there are concert bands, there are military bands, there are wind bands, there's all kinds of different band ensembles. And composers wrote marvelous works for each type or each grouping. But for example, the European concert band or the British concert band is different from the American concert band. Not in a huge way. Not in a crazy huge way, but it's just in little details and things. And that helps to prevent, I think, there being a completely unified repertoire of band music. I mean, I could be completely wrong. And, the marching band is something else entirely. So let's just talk about these 10 fabulous pieces. First, Florent Schmitt, the French composer, Dionysiaques. Now, this is only 10 minutes long. A lot of these pieces are not very long. It's written for an enormous ensemble, which is why you hear it more often on recordings than live. And it's this yummy, voluptuous, exotic, quasi-Asian Oriental piece of orchestral color and mayhem. It takes a while to get going. First, it starts with this very languorous introduction with lots of solos for everybody. And then it just heats up and goes yum, 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 yum. And it goes oh, it's great. Can't you just tell? It's amazing. It's amazing. It's called Dionysiaques. And it's one of the absolute classics of the band repertoire. 10 minutes, there's nothing else like it by anybody else. It's really cool. And so band people love to play it because it's just so much fun for everybody. Next, Reed, Owen Reed or Owen H. Reed. I mean, band people, I've said this before, tend to have three word names of which one word is an initial, except for Frederick Fennell. He was normal. But all the others have like their multi things, QP something. It's like CPE Bach or something. So Owen Reed, or Owen H. Reed, whatever his name was, Reed, R-E-E-D, wrote a piece called La Fiesta Mexicana, the Mexican Fiesta. And it's just a band standard. It's obviously Spanishly influenced. It has its Spanishisms or Mexicanisms. Its Mexicosity is obvious on the surface, and it's a joy. It's just fun music. It took a while before people started writing really deeply serious band music. There is some. Most of it is not on this beginner's list. There are many other works that could go on this list, but I'm sticking with sort of the most popular and entertaining ones to just get you into the medium, because it's just such a wonderful thing. Oh, God, I love band music. Hindemith wrote a symphony for band. And it's very Hindemith sounding. You know, the joke about Hindemith is that you begin with a C major chord and then you just play whatever you want at random, and then you end with a C major chord. Well, this isn't quite like that. This is a rather more serious piece. It has a very serious fugue in the finale. It's a lot of fun to play also. Brilliantly written for the ensemble, and it's a little tougher harmonically than some of the other pieces here, but really, really fun, and just a rip-roaring, bucking bronco of a piece. Well, German broncos don't buck, actually, but it's fun. It's a lot of fun. Number 4, Alan Hovhaness, Symphony No. 4. It happens to be written for band. And it's a symphony, a regular symphony. We've got a couple of them in here. It's a Hovhaness symphony. I mean, Hovhaness' symphonies are beautiful, generally serene, kind of modal pieces that sound a lot like Vaughan Williams, or one of those people, if you know Vaughan Williams. And he writes a lot of contrapuntal things, fugues and whatnot, and hymn-like chorale business with exotic Asian percussion coloring the whole thing. Oh, it's just lovely. It's just beautiful, beautiful work. So that's something that you really ought to know. And it's, there are not enough symphonies for band that are really, really good. They're really typical of their composers. There are a lot of symphonies for band. You just wouldn't know that they're typical of the composers. But this sounds like Hovhaness. And if you like Hovhaness, you're going to like the band symphony. It's mellow, wonderful work. Next, Vaughan Williams, the English Folksong Suite. Now, this is more famous in its arrangement for orchestra, but the original is a band piece, and the tunes are all familiar. Da-da-dum bum 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 ba-da-dum ba-da-dum bum 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 ba-da-dum bum ba-da-da-da. And the finale is do 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 boop 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 ba-da ba 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 da dum ya da da da. Oh, it's just great. It's great. That last one, it sounds a lot like the 12 Days of Christmas. It's a very similar tune, an English folky type tune thing. Fabulous. So after Vaughan Williams, we have Morton Gould, his West Point Symphony. That's one of the classic American works for band, and obviously it was written for the Army. It's in 2 movements, and it's a brilliant and gutsy, and, it's the Army. It's pedal to the metal. Good stuff. And after Morton Gould, Holst. These are the 2 classic pieces of 20th century band music. Holst, who wrote The Planets, the Planets? He wrote 2 suites for band. There are 2 of them. One has like 3 movements, one has like 4 movements. They are marvelous. Absolutely marvelous. The opening has this wonderful chaconne. It's a series of variations over a bass line that repeats over and over again. And the bass line is dum ba da 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 dum bum 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 ba da da dum da, something like that. And a march at the end. And then the second suite has this song of the blacksmith, or something like that, dum, bum, ba-da-dum, dum, bum. It's rhythmically very tricky. Everyone screws it up the first time they play it. You need an anvil. And I have been the anvil player in the Song of the Blacksmith. And there's also a fantasia on the Dargason. You'll recognize the tunes. It's just brilliance plus. And endless fun to play. I mean, I did it like a million times when I was in college. We had such a great time with it. We really did. Next, well, this is another major, major symphony by the American composer Vittorio Giannini. Now, I've done a bunch of band talks on this channel. There is a separate playlist for band and wind ensemble music. And a bunch of videos in there. So if you like this stuff, go check those out, because I play samples of a lot of the music as well. Giannini's 3rd Symphony is for band, and it is one of the great compositions for band. It sounds a bit sort of Star Wars in the opening movement. It's ya da 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 ba ba da 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 ba bum bum ba da 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 ba da 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 da. Oh, it's great. It's a beautiful 4-movement, serious, wonderful symphony for band. It's been recorded a couple times on Mercury Living Presence and on reference recordings, I think, with Frederick Fennell. It's just fantastic. You should know it just because it's wonderful music. Forget whether you like bands or not. Ninth, Percy Grainger, one of the great composers for wind ensemble and bands in the history of the universe. Now, Grainger was a folk song collector, and one of his folk song collections is called Lincolnshire Posy. A posy is, a gathering, a group, and it's a bunch of folk songs from Lincolnshire in the UK. And this is not only one of the great, great pieces for band, it is one of the supreme challenges for an ensemble and a conductor, because there are moments that are what they call aleatoric, sort of, more or less. In other words, the individual members of the band get to do their own thing. It's not like atonal or anything, don't worry. It's actually very listenable. But the rhythm and the ensemble and its relationship to the folk originals it's an extraordinary piece of music, an extraordinary effort at transcribing the spirit of actual improvisational folk singing in a way which is completely conducted and notated. It's an exceptional piece, and bands love to play it, and it's a challenge. It's a major, major challenge to do. And I love it. I just love it. It's been recorded 1 million times. It's easy to find. Just go give it a listen. It's really, really nifty. Full of interesting and ear-catching sonorities as well. I mean, Grainger was a true original. I mean, he was crazy. He was into S&M, and he had some, horrifying political beliefs, and, he had a strange relationship with his mother, who committed suicide. I mean, his life was very strange. He lived most of the time, he was Australian, but he actually spent most of his life living in Westchester, New York. And really, he was crazy. And his music is wonderful. As a result, last but not least, look, the all-time greatest, most unbelievable piece of music for big band is the Berlioz Grande symphonie funèbre et triomphale, the great triumphal and funereal symphony. It begins with this huge, big, fat funeral march, juicy, yummy funeral march with this fabulous tune. Oh, it's just great. And it has this refrain. Bum ba da da da, crash. Dum ba da da. The tam goes whack. Oh, that's one of these. Here we go. Wait a minute. Da 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 da. Da, da, da. Yeah, okay, you get the point. It's really, really cool. And then there's this oraison funèbre. It's a trombone solo, a recitative. It's a speech, over the lament for the dead, followed by the finale, which is a glorious, glory to the Republic and France and all that stuff, with another really terrific tune. Da, 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 ba, da, 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 da. It's wonderful. Now, Berlioz made an arrangement of this where he added strings, which we don't need and we don't like in this work, and a chorus, which sucks. It just sucks beyond belief. It's horrible. In fact, I did another list of these things of works that are better without the chorus. This is one of those. Get it as it was originally written for band, if you can. I mean, there's a wonderful performance with Colin Davis and the London Symphony in the full choral, whatever version, which is, it's worth having because it's like the best one out there, frankly. But it's such a great piece in the original band version. And there are a few recordings of it that way. And it's like 40, 45 minutes. It's a big sucker, a major ceremonial work for band, and probably the greatest ever written. And certainly the greatest ever written by one of the greatest composers. So there you have it. 10 amazing band classics. Wasn't that easy? Go forth and listen, and keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.